Namaste, yogis. Welcome back to your practice and to your mat. I'm really happy to welcome you back to our first ever Yin Yoga series here at the Hideout. This one is called Homecoming, which you might already know, and it is a practice that brings you home to your deepest, highest self. Now, this is especially important in times of misdirection, or maybe you've gotten a little off track, or you just need some form of grounding and a tool to help center you at your core. Hopefully, this series is something that can help serve as your anchor. So for this particular class, we're going to focus into your second meridian pair, which is your stomach and spleen meridian. Now, stomach and spleen meridian, which is focused here, essentially, it is your digestive system, your gut health. And the meridian pair runs from the crown of the head all the way down the frontal body. So you can imagine the line coming down the forehead, the face, the neck, the chest, the belly, branches out to your two legs, so the front of the hips, the quads, tops of the knees, the shins, tops of the feet. At the same time, another two more branches will open up down the side body. So you can imagine crown of the head, two lines splitting down to the right and the left. It trails all the way down the side body, down towards the sides of the feet. So stomach and spleen is your digestive system controller. And because it relates to your gut health, your digestive system, your belly, your stomach, it is also tied to the emotions of worry, anxiety, and overthinking. So you might think of it where when you start to get a little anxious or just a little worried about something, maybe certain times you might feel maybe butterflies running around your stomach or knots building up in your stomach. So that is like a physical representation of the emotions that might happen. And it manifests that way. Sometimes it is very pronounced, sometimes it is not. Okay, so with this in mind, we've got an affirmation that will help drive our practice today. Okay, but before that, I'd like to invite you to come into a tall, upright seat. And of course, as always, you may prepare your props, set it off to the side of your mat. And whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and take a seat. You can soften out your shoulders, you can close your eyes. And just begin to settle in, start to tune into your breath. Give yourselves a moment here first. You've got a couple breaths. And then we will start to frame our minds around the affirmation of today's practice. Okay, so whenever you're ready, let the facial muscles relax. Let the space between the eyebrows soften. Let your breath start to get easy, full, gentle, all at the same time. Let's give ourselves about 5 breaths here. Whether you are wriggling or whether you are already in stillness, doesn't matter. Take all the time you need to arrive on your mat. And just another 4 more breaths. And give yourselves 3 more like this. Last 2 breaths. One final breath here. Go ahead and place one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. Now the hand that is over the belly is exactly just touching that spot where the sensations may be felt when you're feeling anxiety, when you're overthinking, or when you're just having some worries in your head. So at this moment, notice the breath. Your 2 hands are placed on your body. Notice how the body responds to the inhales and the exhales. Just maybe 2 or 3 breaths here. Last breath here. Now keeping your hands where they are, You may repeat this affirmation after me, whether it's out loud or just in your mind. I trust my intuition. I trust my intuition. Just continue to breathe. Just allow this affirmation and intention to move through you. And in your own time, allow the hands to come back down onto the thighs or onto the knees. I trust my intuition. Now from here, you may start to open your eyes. Okay, from here, just find your way into a pigeon pose. So you may come into all fours first, hands forward. Bring the knees slightly further back. And then let's go ahead and take your right shin forward, left knee all the way back. Release the toes. Now we might bring the heel a little closer down towards the hips so that we have a little bit of pressure of that right heel. When we bring the body down, it might be just very gently massaging into your digestive system area. Okay, so but if you ever feel that this is really uncomfortable around the belly, feel free to take it away, make adjustments. You can even take that right knee further out. So feel free to adjust the body accordingly. Now find your way down here. So left side of the body starts to lower back down. Now you might come down to your elbows. You might come down onto your forehead. You might have a bolster underneath your chest or your blocks. So I will rest here onto my bolster. Know that you can also use your bolster as a pillow, lay your head down. And no rush to find stillness here. Just moving at your own pace. Find a position that is comfortable enough to be in for the next about 6 to 8 breaths here. Allow the body to be easy. You may be feeling a little or a lot into the stomach area. So just notice how that feels. And then can you soften the rest of your body? And just about 6 more breaths to be here. Notice the length of the breath at this point of the posture. 5 more breaths. Just another 3. In these final few breaths, can you ask yourself what it means to trust your intuition? Whether this seems like something familiar, maybe it's something that you naturally do, or maybe it's something that we may not find a connection with. But just notice and observe how the body and the mind responds to this notion of trust, of this leaning into your intuition. And to know that there is this inner guide, inner wisdom that it kind of rests within us. You know, we already have it all the way down deep within us. Whether or not we have tapped into that. And you're just going to notice how the body responds to this idea of intuition. 2 more breaths. Now from here, start to lift the head. Bring the hands onto the mat. Now you're going to press yourselves back into a tabletop. And so the right knee joins the left. And then just sitting back into hero's pose. Just find a nice tall upright seat. Now you might stay here, or you might bring the fingertips behind your heels. So you can sort of feel like your weight is sinking back into your fingers. You might even bring your full palms down if you prefer. Maybe the chin is tucking towards the chest. Maybe you're allowing the head to dangle back. So wherever you choose to be, just giving yourself space here. You might feel this into the knees, top of the thighs, maybe even into your belly. So just take a moment here to pause. You've got about 3 breaths. If you're dropping the head back, start to tuck the chin in and find yourselves coming back into a seat. Pause for a moment. Once you find your seat, soften the shoulders once more. Let's take about 2 to 3 breaths. Now start to peel your eyes open. Take the hands forward, coming back into your tabletop. Now let's go ahead and switch sides. So now the left shin comes forward. Right knee drops back. Release the right toes. Then again here you might adjust the positioning of your left heel. Bringing the right side body back down. Notice the pressure the heel is creating around the stomach. Make adjustments. So we are feeling pressure that is just enough, not too much. Feel free to adjust the positioning. And then in your own time, finding your stillness, whether it's with a prop or whether it's just onto the mat, whether the chest is lifted or the body is folded all the way down. Find your way back into stillness here. And then just tap in with your full inhales and exhales again. If ever you felt that some point of the practice, it starts to be a little out of focus, and begin to notice it again. We'll give ourselves about 6 to 8 breaths. Just about 5 to 6 more. Noticing any parts that start to tense up or that start to just get a little more involved. Encourage them to soften. It could be the smallest, maybe the most unnoticeable parts of the body. Maybe it's your jawline tightening up. Maybe it's your fingers. Maybe it's somewhere around the shoulders. Wherever that you've identified a little bit of activation, begin to encourage softening. We've got just 3 more breaths. And give yourselves one last breath here. And begin to press yourselves back up. Your hands come back onto the mat. Press back into that table position again. And find yourselves returning to your upright seat. Now from here you could stay upright, or again the same option offered earlier, you might start to lean back into your hands. So maybe the chin stays in, maybe the head drops back. Wherever you land, let it be an option that feels appropriate in your body. Just about 3 breaths. And begin to guide yourselves back up, finding your tall, upright seat. Let's pause here. Noticing what is obvious to you, and then what is less obvious to you. Can you let your intuition pick up on the cues for you? Just one more breath. Now begin to open your eyes. Now this time you're going to grab all your props. So if you have 2 blocks, feel free to grab them. Otherwise, 1 block is also okay. So we'll set this up first before we lie down. So you'll have, if you have 2 blocks, you might have the first block higher, second block lower, and setting the bolster over your blocks. Okay, so it'll be a little more elevated. If you have 1 block, just bring that first block lower, and that's all you need. Placing the bolster over that 1 block. Okay, if you don't have blocks, that's also okay. And just place your bolster or pillow the long way onto your mat. Now, wherever you may land here, turn away from your props. So you're going to be bringing your sacrum towards your props. And then gently guide yourselves down to lie onto your back. Okay, so no rush here. You might adjust where the hips are placed. Allow the shoulders to be relaxed. Your hands by the side of the body. Maybe you start with the feet stepping onto the mat first. So take what feels comfortable enough to be in. And let's pause here. In just about maybe 2 or 3 breaths. If you're wriggling and adjusting, it is completely okay. And just notice the body's response to this position. Last 2 breaths here. Let's give ourselves 1 more. Now from here, really softly, you bring your feet closer together. 2 feet are stepping onto the mat. Cross the right knee over the left knee. So kind of like you're sitting cross-legged, but in a lying down position. The bottom left foot starts to press into the mat so you can lift the hips. Slide the hips a little off to the right. And then allow the knees to come down to the left. So essentially you're moving into a spinal twist position. Now at this moment you might adjust the body as much as you need to here. So your sacrum and your lower back is in a comfortable spot. And once you settle here, you can keep the chest open, or you can turn the gaze to the right, so looking away from your knees. Your final option will be to take your 2 hands overhead. Maybe you're holding the ends of the bolster. Maybe you're holding on to opposite elbows. Maybe you keep your hands down by your side. So feel free to explore. And then finally, settle into a position that is appropriate for you today. So once you land into stillness, let the breath smoothen out again. Notice anything that may be coming to you here, whether they are physical sensations, whether they are regularities or irregularities in the breath. Maybe you're noticing thoughts just moving in your mind. Whatever it may be, just observing. We'll be in this one for just about 5 more breaths. Just another 3 more. Last breath here. Now gently you could release your arms down by your side if you have them overhead. Have the gaze or the head pointing upward, and then draw the knees back up. Uncross the right knee, and then shift the hips down to center again. Give yourself a moment here in the middle. You might adjust the body on top of your bolster. And then as an in-between posture before we switch sides, bring the feet closer. Let the knees open up so you're taking your reclined butterfly position. Now, as always, it doesn't matter if the knees touch the floor or not, but you have the sensation of length into the inner seams of the legs. Once you arrive here, we'll just take about 3 to 4 breaths, finding the sense of openness down the front line of the body. Letting the body be heavy over your props. We'll take just 2 more breaths. Last one here. Now, if possible, you're keeping your eyes closed if they are. Take the knees back up towards ceiling. Step the feet onto the mat. They're pretty close to each other. And this time, the left knee over the right knee. Okay, once you cross, press into that right foot. Lift the hips. Maybe shift the hips to the left. And then come down to the right. So the knees are dropping down to the right. Now, before you settle into stillness, make any amount of adjustments first that you need in the body. And then you could choose to take the chest upward, or maybe you're turning your gaze towards the left shoulder. Maybe you're having your hands reaching for the edges of the bolster again. Maybe the opposite elbows. Or maybe you just keep your hands down by your side, letting the shoulders be easy. Now, allowing the body to settle, this is our final few moments in this practice. Noticing the space being created into the front body. Notice the space created into the side body, all the way down towards the outer hips. Notice the twist. Notice the breath still weaving its way through, even if the body is in a position that may just change the path of the breath. Just about 4 more breaths here. Lastly, you also notice sensations you might be feeling around your belly, your stomach. Essentially, the sensations that you feel at the core of your intuition. Just another 3 more breaths. Last one here. With your exhale, begin to release hands, chest upright, knees back to the ceiling, uncross the left. Bring the hips center again. Now this time you could choose, either bring the feet together, let the knees open up into butterfly, or you could take your feet out wide. So you're kind of like in this star-shaped position where your heels may even be outside of your mat. Your arms can be anywhere. If you like to extend them wide, you may do so as well. And finding your Shavasana here with space all around the front body. And then allowing for softness to move through you, a sense of heaviness into the back body. Let's pause for this moment here. Shavasana. Yogis, you may start to deepen your breaths. Once again, just noticing the expansion, the softening, the movement down the stomach, the belly, and the sense of relief, the sense of knowing throughout your physical body, your entire being. You may begin to wriggle your fingers, your toes, turn the head side to side ever so gently. And then coming back center, bend the knees, feet onto the mat. And guide yourselves down to the right side of your mat. And just be very mindful here. And once you find your way down, rest on your right arm for 1 or 2 breaths. And then pressing into that left palm, guiding yourselves up. We'll come right back up into a seated pose. Feel free to adjust, get comfortable. Eventually meeting back into stillness with your eyes closed, shoulders soft, hands resting on your knees or onto your thighs. And just noticing your breath here, last 3 breaths in stillness. Noticing the fullness that happens with the inhales around the belly. Noticing the softening of the belly towards the spine with the exhales. Now let's place one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. Repeating the affirmation for one last time in this practice. I trust my intuition. Bring your hands in prayer, the center of your chest. Take an inhale. Exhale, bow down to your fingers. Raise your thumbs to the center of your forehead, breath in. Bring the forehead towards the mat, breath out. And thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We'll see you in the next one. Namaste, yogis.